"Your trash, get out!" Brittany screamed, her face twisted with rage as she actually spit in my direction. The saliva hit my cheek, while my 4-year-old grandson Cameron watched from the kitchen doorway, confused and scared. My own son Jason stood there with his phone out, recording the whole thing like it was some kind of entertainment. At 64 years old, after serving my country for 8 years and building a construction company from nothing over 33 years, I was being called trash in my own home during Thanksgiving dinner. But that moment of humiliation became the turning point that changed everything. My name is Aaron Reed, and this story starts 3 years earlier when I thought I was being a good father and grandfather. When my wife Patricia died from breast cancer in 2021, I was lost. We'd been married 38 years. She was my anchor, and the one who kept me grounded after I came back from overseas service at 26 and started my construction business the following year in 1982. Patricia always saw right through people. She had this way of knowing who was genuine and who wasn't. I remember her telling me once, about 6 months before she passed, "Aaron, that girl doesn't love Jason. She loves what she thinks he can get from you." She was talking about Brittany, Jason's wife. They'd gotten married in 2020, right before Patricia got sick. I wanted to give Jason a good start, so I put down $180,000 for their house in Phoenix. It was a nice 3-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood. Patricia was already getting weaker, but she insisted we help them out. "It's what parents do," she said. But Patricia also warned me about something else. "When I'm gone, don't let them take advantage of you. You're too generous, Aaron. You give because you love, but some people just take because they can." I should have listened to her. When I'd been fortunate in business. When I sold Reed Construction in 2019 at 60 years old, the company was worth $1.2 million. After taxes, debts, and employee buyouts, I walked away with $900,000 in liquid assets plus my house and a cabin up in Flagstaff that Patricia and I used to visit. I'd built that business from nothing, started with just me and a pickup truck in 1982, fresh out of military service. By the time I sold it, we had 47 employees and were handling major commercial projects across Arizona. I retired early because Patricia was getting sick, though we didn't know how sick yet. I wanted to spend time with her, travel, maybe take up some of the hobbies I'd put off for decades. I'd always loved working with wood. Something about shaping raw material into something useful and beautiful appealed to me the same way construction did. I had plans to build a workshop behind the house, maybe start making furniture. Those plans got put on hold when cancer took over our lives. After Patricia died, the loneliness hit hard. Jason would come by on weekends with Brittany and Cameron. At first, I thought it was nice. Family time, you know? But I started noticing things. Brittany would walk around my house like she was appraising it. She'd make comments about how much space I was wasting and how the house was too big for just one person. Then came the requests for money. It started small. Jason needed help with the mortgage 1 month. Their car needed repairs. Cameron needed preschool tuition. I didn't mind helping. That's what family does, right? I had done well with my construction business, and what good was money if I couldn't help my family? But the requests kept growing. Brittany had gotten into this multi-level marketing thing, some kind of lifestyle coaching business. She was always posting on Instagram about financial freedom and living your best life. The problem was that her business was bleeding money, and guess who she expected to fund it? "Aaron, this is a guaranteed opportunity," she'd tell me at least once a month. "I just need $15,000 to get to the next level. Once I hit diamond status, I'll be making $50,000 a month. I'll pay you back triple." When I'd hesitate, she'd get that look in her eyes. Cold. Calculating. "I thought you wanted your grandson to have a successful mother. Don't you believe in me?" The worst part was watching Jason. My son, who I'd raised to be strong and independent after I got back from service, had become this weak version of himself. Whenever Brittany wanted something, he'd just nod along. If I questioned their spending or asked when they might pay back the previous loan, Jason would get defensive. "Dad, you don't understand the modern economy. Brittany's building something revolutionary. You made your money the old-fashioned way, but things are different now." Old-fashioned? Like serving your country and building a business with your own hands was somehow primitive. I started keeping track. Over those 3 years, I calculated that I'd given them about $60,000 in various emergencies and investments. None of it ever came back. Meanwhile, Brittany's social media presence grew. She'd post pictures of expensive dinners and shopping trips, always with captions about abundance mindset and manifesting success. What she was manifesting was my money disappearing. During this time, I tried to find solace in my workshop. I'd finally built it in 2022, a year after Patricia passed. Working with wood helped quiet my mind. I started with simple projects, a bookshelf, a coffee table. There was something therapeutic about measuring twice, cutting once, sanding smooth. Patricia would have loved the rocking chair I made, solid oak with hand-carved details. But she was gone, and I had no one to appreciate the craftsmanship except myself. The breaking point came at Thanksgiving 2023. I'd invited them over like always. I spent 2 days preparing Patricia's traditional menu: turkey, stuffing, her famous green bean casserole, pumpkin pie. I set the table with our good china, the stuff Patricia and I had saved for special occasions. I was genuinely excited to have my family together. They showed up 45 minutes late. Brittany walked in wearing some expensive outfit, complaining immediately about the temperature in my house. "God, Aaron, it's like an oven in here. Don't you know how to use an air conditioner?" Jason barely said hello. He was on his phone, probably dealing with some real estate thing. Cameron ran to give me a hug, and that was the one bright spot in an increasingly dark day. During dinner, Brittany kept checking her phone and making faces at the food. "This stuffing is so heavy. I'm trying to eat clean, you know? But my followers expect me to maintain a certain image." I bit my tongue. I'd been biting my tongue for 3 years. Then she brought up her latest scheme, some new MLM opportunity that required a $50,000 investment to become a regional director. She had it all planned out: how she'd quit her part-time job, how this was going to make her a millionaire within 2 years, how this was Cameron's ticket to private school and college. "All I need is for you to believe in me, Aaron. $50,000 is nothing to you. You've got that cabin you never use. You could sell it and fund my future." I set down my fork. "Brittany, I've already given you and Jason $60,000 over the past 3 years. None of it has been paid back. I'm not selling my cabin to fund another get-rich-quick scheme." Her face changed instantly. The fake smile disappeared. "Get-rich-quick scheme? This is my business, Aaron. This is my career. But just because you don't understand modern entrepreneurship doesn't mean you should sabotage your family's future." "I understand working for what you have," I said calmly. "I understand earning respect through service and hard work." That's when she exploded. "Service? You mean that pathetic military thing you won't shut up about? Newsflash, Aaron. Nobody cares that you played soldier 40 years ago. The world has moved on. Your old-school, controlling attitude is exactly why this family has problems." Jason looked up from his phone finally, but instead of defending me, he started recording. Actually recording his wife humiliating his father. Brittany wasn't done. "You sit in this big house feeling sorry for yourself, hoarding money while your family struggles. You're selfish. You're controlling. You're a has-been who thinks everyone owes him respect because he wore a uniform decades ago. I stood up slowly. In the Army, they teach you to stay calm under pressure. I think you should leave. That's when she really lost it. "You're trash, get out!" she screamed. And then she actually spit at me. The saliva hit my cheek while my grandson watched from the doorway, scared and confused. "This is my house," I said quietly. "Not for long," Brittany shot back. "Jason's going to get his inheritance one way or another. We'll put you in a nursing home where you belong, you pathetic old man." Jason kept filming. My own son was documenting my humiliation like it was content for social media. They left without another word. I sat there for a long time, staring at the untouched Thanksgiving dinner, feeling something I hadn't felt since combat. Absolute clarity about what needed to be done. That night, I walked into my workshop and started sanding a piece of walnut I'd been saving for a special project. The repetitive motion helped me think. Patricia's voice echoed in my head. "Don't let them take advantage of you." I'd been letting them walk all over me for 3 years, thinking it was love. But love doesn't demand. Love doesn't humiliate. Love doesn't spit. The next morning, I called Kevin Martinez, a family attorney I'd met through my veterans group. I explained the situation and asked about my options. Kevin was direct. "Aaron, you can revoke the gift of the house based on gross ingratitude. Arizona law is clear on this. But you'll need documentation." Documentation. I'd been in construction long enough to know that everything important needs to be in writing. Over the next week, I installed security cameras throughout my house. I collected financial records, bank transfers, text messages, emails, everything that showed the pattern of financial exploitation. I had statements showing $15,000 here, $8,000 there, $12,000 for another emergency. It added up to $60,000 over 3 years, and not one penny had been repaid. I also started researching something I'd been thinking about for years: affordable housing for veterans. During my construction career, I'd met too many former servicemen who couldn't afford decent housing. The idea of building tiny homes or small communities specifically for veterans had always been in the back of my mind. Now, with my relationship with Jason destroyed and Brittany showing her true colors, I had nothing but time and motivation. I spent hours in my workshop during December, building a scale model of what I was envisioning. 20 small but dignified homes arranged around a central community building. Each unit would have everything a person needed: kitchen, bathroom, sleeping area, small living space. The wood model helped me visualize not just the construction, but the community itself. Veterans helping veterans. People who understood service and sacrifice. Jason called me twice that month. I didn't answer. He left voicemails that started apologetic and gradually became angry. "Dad, you can't just ignore us forever. Brittany says she's sorry. She was stressed about money. We all say things we don't mean." But I knew she meant every word. In January 2024, Kevin filed the papers to revoke the house gift. The look on Jason's face when the sheriff served him was something I'll never forget. Confusion, then anger, then panic. He called me 47 times that day. I didn't answer. Brittany sent me text messages that ranged from threats to fake apologies to attempts at manipulation using Cameron. "Your grandson misses you. How can you destroy a 4-year-old's home?" But I'd already made my decision. I put my Flagstaff cabin on the market. It sold for $180,000 within 2 weeks. I started researching land in Colorado Springs, a place known for its veteran-friendly community and growing opportunities in affordable housing development. The wheels were in motion. By March, I was working with a local architect named Timothy Foster to design a tiny home community for homeless veterans. The concept was simple but revolutionary. 20 small but dignified homes, shared community spaces, on-site support services. My initial investment would be $120,000, with additional funding from veteran organizations and grants. Timothy was a 45-year-old former Navy Seabee who understood both military culture and sustainable construction. We met at a veteran networking event in Phoenix, and when I explained my vision, his eyes lit up. Aaron, I've been waiting for someone with your experience and capital to make this happen. I've got designs that could change how we house veterans. The house revocation went through in April. Jason and Brittany had 60 days to find new housing. They fought it in court, but Kevin had prepared well. The documentation of financial abuse was overwhelming. Bank transfers, text records, email chains demanding money. The Thanksgiving recording that Jason had stupidly saved on his phone became the centerpiece of our case. Your Honor, Kevin argued in court, this is a clear case of gross ingratitude. The defendants have systematically exploited the plaintiff's generosity while showing nothing but contempt for his dignity and service to our country. Brittany's lawyer tried to argue that family disputes shouldn't result in property loss, but the evidence was damning. Text messages calling me controlling and pathetic. Recorded conversations about how they could speed up getting my inheritance. The courtroom was silent when they played the audio of Brittany telling a friend, "The old man won't live forever. We just have to wait it out." I'll admit, seeing my son's family downsize to a small apartment was hard. But what was harder was realizing that Jason had chosen his wife's greed over his father's dignity. Some bridges burn not because of what you do, but because of what others choose. By June, I had relocated to Colorado Springs and begun construction on Pine Ridge Veterans Village. The land cost $85,000, 3 acres just outside the city with utilities already in place. Timothy's designs were brilliant, efficient 400-square-foot homes that felt spacious despite their size. Each unit had a full kitchen, bathroom, living area that converted to a bedroom, and a small covered porch. The construction process reminded me why I'd loved the industry for 33 years. There's something deeply satisfying about seeing plans become reality. Watching empty land transform into homes where people will build their lives. But this project was different. This wasn't just about profit margins and completion schedules. This was about dignity. The first resident we selected was Gerald Santos, a 58-year-old Marine veteran who'd been living in his car for 8 months after losing his apartment. When we handed him the keys to Unit 1, he stood there for a full minute just staring at the door. "I haven't had my own place in almost a year," he said, his voice shaking. "This is really mine?" "It's really yours," I told him. "Welcome home." The project attracted attention from local media and veteran organizations. A reporter from the Colorado Springs Gazette wrote a feature article about Pine Ridge Village that got picked up statewide. Suddenly, I was fielding calls from other cities wanting to replicate our model. Something unexpected happened during this time. I met Jennifer Williams, a 58-year-old widow who ran a nonprofit focused on veteran mental health services. She'd lost her husband in Afghanistan and channeled her grief into helping other military families. We started collaborating on services for Pine Ridge residents, and slowly, a friendship developed. "You're not just building houses, Aaron," she told me one day as we watched the 6th tiny home take shape. "You're building dignity. These men served their country, and they deserve better than shelters and streets." Jennifer understood loss, the way it can either destroy you or transform you into something stronger. She also appreciated craftsmanship. When she saw the custom furniture I was building for the community center, tables, chairs, shelving units, all made from reclaimed wood, she insisted I start signing my pieces. This is art, Aaron. Functional art. These veterans will eat meals at tables you built with your own hands. That means something. By August, Pine Ridge Veterans Village was featured in Veterans Today magazine. The article led to speaking requests at veteran conferences across the Southwest. I found myself sharing my story, not just the family betrayal, but the journey of rebuilding purpose after loss. The first time I spoke publicly was at a Denver conference called Housing Heroes: Innovative Solutions for Veteran Homelessness. I was nervous as hell. I'd run construction crews for decades, but standing in front of 300 people with a microphone was different. 3 years ago, I told them, I was a widowed retiree being exploited by my own family. I thought my useful life was over. Today, I'm housing veterans and building communities. The difference wasn't age or money. It was deciding that respect isn't negotiable. The response was overwhelming. After my presentation, a dozen people approached with questions about replicating Pine Ridge. A woman from Denver offered to fund a second village. A man from Pueblo wanted to partner on a larger project. That's when I started writing the book. Building for Veterans: Affordable Housing Solutions combined my construction experience with everything I'd learned about veteran homelessness. I wrote it longhand first, sitting in my workshop in the evenings after construction days, then typed it up on weekends. The writing process was therapeutic in a way I hadn't expected. For 30 years, I'd built with my hands. Now I was building with words. It's creating something that could outlast any physical structure. A publisher in Denver, Mountain West Press, picked up the manuscript in September. The editor, Sarah Kim, was a former military journalist who understood both the technical aspects and the human story. Aaron, this isn't just a construction manual, she told me during our first meeting. This is a blueprint for transformation, both for the veterans who live in these homes and for the communities that build them. The book was scheduled for release the following spring, with a national publicity tour already being planned. Jason called me in October. It was the first time we'd spoken since the legal proceedings ended. "Dad," he said, and I could hear exhaustion in his voice. "I saw the magazine article. I saw what you're building." I waited. "Brittany and I are getting divorced. She's moving back to California with Cameron. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry for everything." I felt sadness, but also something like relief. "I hope you find your way, son, but apologies don't erase choices." "I know. I just wanted you to know that I finally see what Patricia saw. What you saw. Brittany was using all of us. The question is what you're going to do now." There was a long pause. "I don't know yet, but I'm going to figure it out on my own this time. No more shortcuts. No more expecting handouts." We talked for 20 minutes. Jason told me about the divorce proceedings, how Brittany had immediately moved on to another man, apparently someone with even deeper pockets. He told me about losing his real estate license due to missed continuing education requirements while dealing with their drama. He was starting over at 36, working as a construction laborer in Phoenix. "I know you won't believe this," he said, "but getting knocked down this hard was the best thing that could have happened to me. I'd forgotten how to work for anything." I didn't offer him money. I didn't offer him a place to stay. But I did offer him something more valuable. If you want to learn the business, the real business, not get-rich-quick schemes, there's always room in construction for men willing to work hard. "You mean it?" "I mean you can earn it, just like everyone else." By December, Pine Ridge Veterans Village was at full capacity. 20 residents, each with their own story of struggle and recovery. Gerald Santos had become our unofficial community leader, organizing weekly barbecues and helping newer residents adjust. The waiting list had grown to over 80 names. Jennifer and I had grown closer over the months. What started as professional collaboration had developed into genuine companionship. We had dinner twice a week, attended veteran events together, and shared the kind of conversations I hadn't had since Patricia died. Jennifer understood loss, but she also understood moving forward with purpose. "You know what I love about you?" she told me one evening, as we watched the sunset from my small apartment overlooking the village. "You don't just talk about service, you live it." I'd been thinking about asking her to move in with me. At 64, I wasn't looking for games or casual dating. I was looking for partnership, for someone who shared my values and understood my mission. The book came out in March 2025, exactly 1 year after I'd started writing it. Building for Veterans, Affordable Housing Solutions exceeded everyone's expectations. The first printing sold out within 6 weeks. Veterans Administration offices ordered copies for their housing departments. Architecture schools added it to their curriculum. Most importantly, 5 other cities had committed to building their own versions of Pine Ridge. I did a book tour that took me to 12 cities across the West. At every stop, I met veterans who needed housing and communities that wanted to help. In Salt Lake City, a group of retired construction workers pledged to volunteer their time. In Albuquerque, a land developer donated 5 acres for a new village. In Phoenix, ironically, the mayor asked me to consult on a citywide veteran housing initiative. "Mr. Reed," she said after my presentation, "would you consider coming back to Arizona to oversee this project?" I smiled. "Arizona is my past, Mayor. Colorado is my future." But the most meaningful moment came at a Denver bookstore signing. A young Marine veteran, maybe 25 years old, approached my table. "Sir, I just wanted to thank you. I read about Pine Ridge online, and it gave me hope. I'm on the waiting list, but knowing that someone cares enough to build something like that, it kept me going through some dark times." That's when I understood what Jennifer meant about living service, rather than just talking about it. Jennifer and I got engaged in May, during a quiet dinner at the community center I'd helped build. I proposed with a ring I'd carved from walnut wood, the same tree I'd been working with the night of that terrible Thanksgiving. She said yes, while 23 veterans applauded from nearby tables. "Are you sure you want to marry a 65-year-old man with a complicated family situation?" I asked her. "Aaron, I'm marrying a man who builds homes for heroes and carves wedding rings from trees. Age is just a number. Character is forever." We're planning a summer wedding at Pine Ridge, with Gerald Santos officiating. He became ordained online specifically for the ceremony. Jason has been invited. Whether he comes will be his choice, but the invitation represents something important. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation, but it does require release. I miss Cameron terribly. Brittany moved him to Los Angeles and won't allow contact. But my attorney says that might change when Jason gets his life together and can petition for visitation rights. I've started a college fund for Cameron. $50,000 that he'll receive directly at 18, with a letter explaining why his grandfather chose dignity over enabling dysfunction. Next month, we're breaking ground on Pine Ridge Village 2 in Fort Collins. The second location will house 40 residents and include a vocational training center where veterans can learn construction, woodworking, and other trades. I'll be teaching the woodworking classes myself. People ask me if I regret the way things turned out with my family. Here's what I've learned. Respect isn't something you give because someone shares your DNA. Respect is earned through character, through choices, through how you treat people when you think no one is watching. Brittany called me trash and spit in my face because she thought I was weak. She thought my age and loneliness made me an easy target. She was wrong. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the natural consequences of their actions. And Jason had to lose everything to see what he'd become. Maybe that's the only way he could find his way back to the man I raised him to be. At 65, after losing my wife and watching my family fall apart, I discovered something important. Your real family is made up of people who share your values, not just your blood. Jennifer, Timothy, Kevin, Gerald, the veterans at Pine Ridge. These are my people now. And that's worth more than any amount of money I ever gave away trying to buy love from people who saw me as nothing more than an ATM with a heartbeat. The last text I got from Brittany was 8 months ago. "You destroyed this family." I never responded. But if I had, I would have told her the truth. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped funding it. Now I build things that last. Homes for heroes, communities for healing. A legacy based on service, not sacrifice. At 65, my best years aren't behind me. They're just getting started. Well, sometimes the people who demand the most respect are the ones who've earned the least, while those who quietly serve others never have to ask for it at all. A man's true wealth isn't measured by what he leaves behind, but by how many lives he lifted up while he was here.